negligent homicide, 2 counts, possession of Schedule 4. Sentencing date, July 7, 2020. Sentenced to a total of 8 years. Parole date, November 19, 2021. Good time, September 7th, 2022. Full term, November 20th, 2027. Is this information correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Marabella.
Thank you very much. Ms. Whited, my name is Tony Marabella. Your case was assigned to me, so I'll begin your questioning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, how old are you?
I'm 34.
And how long have you been in prison on these charges?
Since November 2019.
Tell me why you're in prison.
Because I made a decision that cost 2 people their lives.
That is certainly true, but tell me specifically about your drug use and what happened on that particular day.
I had taken prescribed medications the night before and the morning of, and then I went somewhere and I shouldn't have.
Now, Ms. Whited, part of this process and part of your process is to be totally honest.
Yes.
You say you were taking prescription medication. I don't imagine you had a prescription for THC. I don't imagine you had a
You're
prescription.
correct.
I'm sorry?
You're correct.
Okay, so I want you to be perfectly frank with me. You were taking perhaps prescription medication, but you were taking a lot of other drugs as well.
Yes.
Okay.
I had smoked. I forgot.
And you had your 2-year-old child in the vehicle as well?
Yes, sir.
The reports don't indicate whether or not your child was injured.
She was not.
You were in the hospital for how long?
A couple months.
And the 2 people who you hit were killed.
Yes.
So tell me about your drug use. When did you start using drugs and how?
I've been smoking weed since I was probably 13.
Okay, and what did you progress to?
I've always smoked weed, and I have a psychiatric disorder and physical issues, which is why the other 2 narcotics were in my system.
What psychiatric disorders do you have? Have you gone to a psychiatrist?
Yes.
Were you taking medication?
Yes, I have severe PTSD.
What was the PTSD from? Do you know?
Yes, an MBA that I was involved in 2008.
Now, on this particular day, what had you taken?
My Klonopin and hydrocodone.
Okay. And you also had ketamine in your system as well as THC.
Yes.
So how'd you take? I'm sorry?
That's what I'm told. As far to my knowledge, that would have been introduced into my system through medical personnel on the scene or after.
The THC?
Not the THC, the ketamine.
All right.
When I woke up from my
how often were you using drugs at the time of this wreck?
weeds pretty much for a long time was pretty much an every evening occurrence.
I'm sorry, what?
I would smoke weed every night.
Okay. And how long had you done that for?
Probably from the time I was 22.
Where is your child now?
My sister and my brother-in-law have custody.
What programs have you taken while you've been in prison that have benefited you or that you think are very important to you?
Unfortunately, programs have not been offered to me during my incarceration. If they had been, I certainly would have utilized them.
So you haven't taken any substance abuse programs or any sort of substance abuse treatment or anything like that?
Those things were not made available to me.
Have you ever had any substance abuse treatment on the outside?
Yes.
What kind and when?
I used to go to NA pretty frequently.
Okay, those are meetings. What about treatment?
No, I've never been to a rehab.
You've never been to an inpatient treatment, outpatient treatment, any sort of rehab?
No, sir.
What do you, as you've been in prison, what do you think about the crime you committed and the two innocent people that you've killed? What are your thoughts about that?
My thoughts are that I would trade or give anything to take it back or change it, but I can't. And every day I have to learn to live with that. And it's something that I struggle with because I can't.
Are you currently on medication?
Yes.
What are you taking now?
Naproxen, Tylenol, and a low-dose aspirin.
How often are you seeing a mental health counselor?
That, again, those are services that are not available to me at where I'm being housed.
Where would you live if you were to get out?
In Arkansas.
With whom?
My spouse.
And how long have you been married? Is that the father of your child?
No. She and I are not legally married. She's my
Okay.
life partner.
All right, okay. It's very clear that you have law enforcement opposition, you have victim opposition, and it's real clear to me, frankly, that you really need substance abuse treatment before I'm comfortable letting you out. Why should I vote to let you out at this point?
That's a difficult question. I can tell you that I have learned a lot and grown tremendously as an individual throughout this process. And I can assure you that I am of no threat or danger to anyone.
How can you say that? I mean, if you go back to using drugs, you may find yourself very much in that same situation.
I will not. I've had roughly 2.5 years to figure out how to not need or use any of those things at all.
So you think that's all it took is sitting down for 2.5 years thinking about it?
No, I have plans to pursue things when I do get out, regardless of whether or not I'm granted this parole.
What sort of plans do you have? What are your plans to stay sober?
Counseling. I plan to get help when I leave.
Okay. Why didn't you do that before?
I don't really have a good answer to that question.
Do you think you could benefit from long-term substance abuse treatment?
Yes, I do.
Thank you very much, Ms. Whited. Appreciate your comments. Mr. Chairman, that's all the questions I have.
Okay, we'll now hear from Miss Brenda Pitts.
This is Brenda Pitts.
Go ahead and make your statement, ma'am.
I don't feel like she should get out because they had her on house arrest and she couldn't abide by that. That's the reason why she wound up in jail in 2019. And to me, it's just a slap in my face again, because I felt like she should have got more than 12 years for killing 2 people. And now she want to get out just because she did 2.5 years. I don't feel like she's going to get out and do right. And I hate to see her get out and kill somebody else's child, or kill herself, or kill her own child. I feel like she needs to stay in there for the full 12 years. Because I don't have my son. And I don't feel like she should get out.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your comment. Miss Latoya now.
Yes, good morning. And so kind of just going back with what my aunt was saying, at this point, it doesn't seem fair and it doesn't seem right. And again, I am all about justice and fairness. And again, what example are we setting for youth or adults that are receiving their driver's license and are getting behind the wheel of a car, that it's okay that you can be under the influence or you can be intoxicated and you can, kill not one, but 2 individuals who, were successful in life and were doing the right thing as a U.S. citizen, and just wrong place, wrong time, you end up in this situation and you're taken from your family, that you can do this and in 2 years it's a slap on the wrist and that you're out or you're eligible for parole. That's not setting an example for upcoming youth or adults that's getting their driver's license. And any action that you take has a consequence or a reward. And at the end of the day, she knew the consequence of her action, but she still chose to make an incorrect and very irresponsible decision to get behind the wheel. And for that, 2 lives were taken away and multiple lives were affected because of this decision. You have a child without his father that's going to need counseling. And then within those counseling sessions, you then have to try to explain why his father's, killer or murderer was let out early for parole, and there's no explanation as to why she's being let out. And I just feel like with this incident of being up for parole, it's like snatching a Band-Aid off an open wound, and that's what we're feeling right now. We're feeling a wound that's like being open all over again. And it's not
Yes,
even
ma'am.
just for her protection, it's for protection of other individuals that she may encounter if she chooses to get behind the wheel of her vehicle again under the influence. And it could be you all that are in this Zoom, your children, your spouse, that could be that innocent person that's meeting her coming around the corner or around a curve, and she's intoxicated and crosses over that center line again. If she's done it twice,
Yes.
who's to say it won't happen again? And so I'm definitely opposing for the parole. And I thank you for hearing us on today and our concerns.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Just wanted to let you guys know again, the victims, that she is going to be released 9/7/2022. Regardless, that is a good time date that's set. So that has to do with the board, but that's a good time date. All right. Would you like to make a statement on your behalf? Whitehead?
No.
Nope. Okay. Is the panel prepared to vote? Mr. Marabella?
Thank you. Ms. Whitehead, I'm very concerned about you. I'm very concerned about your addiction. And I'm very concerned that you haven't had any treatment whatsoever. I do believe that sitting in jail for the last couple of years has done something to you. I mean, you thought about it, but I'm just very concerned that you haven't gotten any treatment and you don't really have a plan. I mean, it sounds like you do, but you're going to be getting out very shortly. And my real fear is that unless you get some significant treatment, you may find yourself back in the same situation. I mean, the drug addiction you have is a serious disease. You have very strong law enforcement opposition, obvious victim opposition. The crime that you committed is extremely serious, and you have a serious addiction. And your good time release date is coming right around the corner within several months. My vote today is going to be to deny, but to request that conditions be added upon your release, that you get a substance abuse evaluation, you follow treatment, and that perhaps you even go inpatient somewhere to be able to get some good treatment for what your problems are, so you'll be able to have a plan for the rest of your life. My vote today is to deny you and hope that you really can come to grips with your disease and realize that it's something that you're going to have to fight the rest of your life. So good luck to you, Ms. Whitey.
Ms. Renata?
I agree. It's concerning that you haven't been able to have, or you haven't had intensive treatment. So my vote today also is to deny for the reasons expressed by Mr. Marabella. And I agree that we'll add to your release certificate that you get the substance abuse evaluation and require that you follow the treatment plan. Good luck.
All right, and I vote to deny your parole for the same reasons as stated. 3 votes to deny. Today, your parole's been denied. Good luck.
Crash on US Highway 79 in Claiborne Parish takes 2 lives. State police say it happened around 11 this morning. State police say 2 cars collided head on. Charles Pitts and his passenger, Quentin Willis, passed away. The other driver, Joncee W DOC, was taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. A baby was also taken to the hospital, but is expected to be okay. Police say that's because of the proper use of a car seat. Toxicology samples were taken from both drivers, and the crash is under investigation.
And there you have it. She gets into the car with her baby. She drives, crashes into another vehicle, kills 2 people. From what the victim says, she gets house arrest, violates that, so she finally gets prison time, a 12-year sentence, which she only has to serve her good time date 3 years. How does that make sense? I mean, like, someone make that make sense. You get more time for stealing a purse. You get more time for having possession of some grass. You took 2 lives, and man, I don't like Kelsey. He's literally telling the victim who gets up to talk about her dead son, and he's shutting her up. Like, okay, good. Yeah, I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm sorry, ma'am. I was like, shut up. He's a physical therapist. For some reason, the governor found it to be a good idea to nominate him to this position. His experience as being a physical therapist. Make that make sense. And you know, to add insult to injury, she shows up at the hearing and then lies. She said, well, how did it happen? And she seemed annoyed. You know, it was strange. I didn't show the recording because I cut to the beginning, but at the beginning they asked her her DOC number. You didn't see this. She didn't know it. She said, I don't know. And it wasn't, then they said, what's your date of birth? And then they went into this. Oh, okay. So we confirmed this is your DOC number. I mean, she hasn't, I don't know how that's possible. I've been told you do time, you need to know your DOC number. You have to repeat it. That's what but whether she was pretending or whether she somehow served so little time, she didn't even know her DOC number. And then she goes and she lies. What she says, I took prescribed medication the night before. I took prescribed medication the morning of, and I went somewhere I shouldn't have. That's her response. That is not someone who feels remorse. That is someone who really feels like she did nothing wrong. Poor me. And then, I think we had the best person for the job, Tony Mirabella, although I wish he would have gone in a little harder. But I think, again, because of the good time date, they knew they were denying her. But he's like, well, what about the illegal pot you had in your system? Oh, yeah, I had that. I forgot. She says, I forgot. You killed 2 people. You're in prison. What do you mean you forgot? I'm not sure what's worse, lying at your parole hearing and pretending, or if you actually did forget. And then they say they found ketamine in her system. I thought it was interesting Mr. Mirabella pronounced it wrong because him being a drug court judge for so long, or maybe it's just his accent, the same way he says programs. He said ketamine. And then she's like, well, I don't know. That was in my system from the medical staff. And you'll have to tell me, nurses and first responders, is that something people do? Do they inject ketamine in someone at a crash? I really would believe that she happened to have it in her system. It just seems weird that that's in her report. Authorities have released the identities of 2 men who were killed by the woman who was critically injured Sunday morning. I hate these ads. I just hate how they do this. It's like, come on, guys. This can't be. You gotta be better than this. But no. Killed on the wreck on Highway 79 just north of Kirkland Parish line were 33 years old, and Charles Pitt, 37 years old. She was 31 at the time. She had life-threatening injuries. An infant who was in her car, restrained and was unhurt, but was taken to the same hospital for evaluation. The wreck involving 2 passenger cars, a 2009 Volvo and a 1998 Mazda Protege, happened shortly. Preliminary investigation indicate Whited was driving the Volvo that crossed into the incoming lane and collided head-on with the Mazda. There you go. She had the bigger car and the Volvo, right? Against a tiny little Mazda Protege. I drove a Mazda Protege Speed, actually. It had a little 5-speed manual. I loved it. And then I totaled it, interestingly enough. She drove into the oncoming lane and hit the car head on. It's just the scariest stuff. Toxicology is obtained from some. So Claire recommended I do this. Thank you, Claire. And she's from Louisiana. And she said that in Louisiana, there's no liquor stores. You go to a gas station and you can just get liquor. They even have drive-throughs. She jokingly said, if you're too inebriated to get out of your car, you can just drive through and get it. Now, I did ask ChatGPT what the top 10 states were for DUIs, and Louisiana's not on the list, but I don't know if it's a fully thorough report, if it's per capita, if it's total, it's not clear. But South Dakota was 1. North Dakota was 2. I mean, that's just fascinating to see. That blows my mind. I just wouldn't think that at all. Then you have Wyoming, Montana, Wisconsin, Alaska. It's got to be per capita. Idaho, Colorado, New Mexico, and Vermont. It just seems such random states, actually. And then I checked Louisiana's website, and they said, according to 2018 data, which is the latest data report, can you imagine a state on their official website? If this is, no, this isn't their official website. I'm sorry. But it's, so maybe they're not up to date, but from the search I did, it said that their latest report as of 2018 from LSU is a total of 17,461 cases, which was down 7.36%. Seems like a lot, 17,000. But again, I can't reference it to any data. But here it is. The bottom line is that you have a woman who took 2 lives and risked her baby's life. And it's really, in my opinion, shows almost no remorse or even accountability. And she's getting out. She's actually out by now. Actually, that's so interesting. She got out 7 days ago as of today. 9/7/23 was her good time date as of today's recording of 9/20/23. Yeah, she's gotten out a week ago. And if she does get revoked, we will do her hearing here on this channel. But I'm praying that we don't see her. But with that, I'll let you go.